Moving to Roswell, Georgia, here are 7 things you need to know first. First of all, you should know about the crime here in Roswell. This is a big part of moving to the metro Atlanta area. I know many people who are considering moving here from out of state or out of country are kind of concerned about like what the crime is like in metro Atlanta. And we hear a lot of things in the news about like Atlanta maybe being a dangerous place or the crime. You really got to keep in mind that those are the things that sell views, that get clicks. You know, when people talk about the crime in Atlanta, it's because that's what people watch. And so the crime here is really not nearly as bad as the news portrays. And Roswell is not nearly as bad as maybe some of the news portrays. I don't really know what the news says about Roswell, but I do have a crime map for you here from the website crimegrade.com. They've got a great useful tool here. So they have like this heat map for where the crime is located in these different areas. And so if we look at the map for Roswell, you can see they kind of have in the northeast a little bit part of Roswell, they've got it red a little bit. The majority of this area is all green, which I think should be all green, but this little portion of Roswell that is red is mainly along Highway 9. And while I don't agree that it's red, it's probably more like yellow in my opinion. It kind of makes sense because Highway 9 is mostly like commercial areas. And so you've probably got some like petty crimes going on there around the commercial parts of Highway 9, but outside of Highway 9 where the residential parts of the city are, it's all green. And so also, keep in mind that this website is put together by a security system company, so naturally they're going to err on the side of making things look a little bit worse than they really are. But overall, I'd say Roswell is a very safe city to live in. What's up, y'all? My name is Victor with Atlanta Suburban Living. We put out videos every week about what it's like to live in Atlanta and the suburbs of Atlanta. Another thing you need to know before moving to Roswell is like, where are the outdoor spaces? Where are the green spaces? Like if you're wanting to get outside and be in nature, where are we going to do that? And so this is a big part of living in Roswell, specifically because there are many suburbs that are this distance away from Atlanta, but the closer you get to Atlanta, like Roswell, the less green space, the less outdoor activities there are to do. Obviously, when you get closer to Atlanta, you have more city-like, more urban kind of living. And so Roswell has done a great job, maybe the best job of all of the cities that are this distance away from Atlanta, of preserving that green space and having outdoor things to do. One of the biggest reasons for that is the Chattahoochee River. This is like a main artery that goes through Georgia and provides lots of outdoor recreation, obviously lots of water. I think there's power plants on the Chattahoochee River, but super important for residents of Roswell is that this provides lots of outdoor activities, and especially along Azalea Drive in the south part of Roswell, there are tons of walking, jogging trails. There are tons of playgrounds for the kids along the river, boat access to the river there on Azalea Drive. There are lots of places to access the river actually. And so in general, this is one of like the most outdoory things to do in Roswell. Outdoory. I don't know if that's a word, but the Chattahoochee River definitely provides that for the residents of Roswell, even for people who live outside of Roswell. I live about 15 minutes from Roswell, and my kids and I, we love going out there to play or take the kayak out on the river as well. Another cool spot is Vickery Creek, which is just about 5 minutes away from downtown Roswell, which we're going to talk about more in just a minute. But 5 minutes away from downtown Roswell is this like waterfall that they have along Vickery Creek. And so there's also like easy access down to the creek there. The hike or little walk or whatever to the waterfall is like maybe 5 minutes. In fact, you can hear it from the parking lot. And so this really gives you a good idea of what that outdoor living is like. They have this downtown area and they have this hiking, walking trail with the waterfall all within 5 minutes of each other. And so this kind of nature-y outdoor green space is ubiquitous across the city. However, one thing to keep in mind, while there is all of this green space and nature and all that stuff in Roswell, sometimes that makes the city of Roswell look kind of country or kind of rural or whatever. It's not really a rural area. It is a typical suburban area where you would just drive 5 to 10 minutes to a grocery store or take the kids to school 5 to 10 minutes away. Everything is pretty close, but because we have these super tall pine trees here in Roswell and all of the green space and vegetation, it kind of makes it look a bit more rural than it really is. Don't be fooled by all of that. This is a typical suburban area with lots of big box stores and shopping and restaurants and all of those things that you would typically find in a suburb. The third thing that you should know about Roswell before you move here is what the people are like. In general, I would say the people of Roswell are super friendly, very welcoming, very accepting of new residents. And so this is something that really, I think, makes Roswell one of the best suburbs to move to. It's certainly the case that not every city in Georgia is as welcoming as you might hope. That's not a secret. There are some super country, rural parts of Georgia where people are a bit more closed off. Roswell is nothing like that. They're very welcoming, very nice. That kind of southern hospitality is definitely something that you can find here in Roswell. People are quick to say thank you or please or hold the door for you. In general, people are very friendly here. This also means that you can find good community, among neighbors. One of the best ways to build community and to get to know people is through your HOA. If you live in a neighborhood that's got an HOA, which is pretty much every neighborhood, you get to know the neighbors at the pool or the tennis court or whatever. These HOA things are a great way to meet neighbors. There's also lots of festivals or a farmer's market. They have a lot of those things in downtown Roswell. And so this is another great way to get out and meet people and be in community among the residents of Roswell. Number 4 on the list of things you should know before you move here has to do with the nightlife. While this is a very family friendly area and people are super nice here, there's not really a whole lot of nightlife. This is not an area where you're gonna find a lot of things to do in the evening. Restaurants and stores are gonna close probably at 9 or 10 o'clock. And so past 10 o'clock, it's kind of a ghost town in Roswell. And so this is not an area where there is a lot of young people or an area where there's lots of things to do in the evening. And certainly some people prefer it that way. I know my family and I prefer it that way, but that's something to think about it. If you're looking for an area where there's going to be that kind of nightlife in Atlanta, then Roswell's not really the right city for that. Number 5 on the list has to do with employers and finding work here in Roswell. If you're planning on moving to Roswell or you just have any questions about what it's like to live here, feel free to call, text, or email me anytime. I'm a local realtor here in the Metro Atlanta area. Thank you so much to everybody who has reached out and supported the channel. I'm always happy to help. But when it comes to employers, there are lots of options here in Roswell and very close to Roswell. The thing that makes this city unique is where it is positioned. It's just north of Atlanta, and so it's maybe a 30-minute to 1-hour drive to the center of Atlanta from Roswell, but it's also very close to Sandy Springs. Technically Roswell and Sandy Springs border each other at the Chattahoochee River. The river is the border between Roswell and Sandy Springs, and so very easy to get to Sandy Springs, where there is a lot of economy, lots of employers. And then just north of Roswell, also bordering Roswell, is Alpharetta. And in Alpharetta, there is a big tech industry. And so lots of employers having to do with the tech industry in Alpharetta. So you have lots of options. And this is something that brings a lot of people to Roswell. They're very often looking for an area where they don't have a crazy long commute to work. And so they choose Roswell because of its central location. Another one that I thought of actually is Norcross as well. Norcross is to the east of Roswell. Again, maybe 20-30 minutes from Roswell. And then south of Roswell is Dunwoody as well. So all of these cities that I've mentioned have lots of employers, lots of industry, and this makes Roswell perfectly situated for having a quick commute to work. The number 6 thing you should know before moving here is that Roswell is a great place to live, but some of these buildings, commercial and residential, some of the houses also are kind of older. There's not a lot of new construction going on in Roswell. Even with the downtown area, when you see that downtown area, it's more like a historic kind of downtown feel. And while that is a cool feature and a historic charm that a lot of people appreciate, this is not a modern kind of city where you've got new buildings and new houses and everything is super modern, maybe Alpharetta or maybe parts of Sandy Springs. Roswell was really developed decades ago, and they've just done a great job of preserving that history. And so a lot of the things here look older. They have that character. And so if you're looking for an area that is more modern and new, I would not suggest Roswell. If, however, you're looking for an area that has that charm and that kind of character in the buildings, then definitely Roswell is a great area for that. And then the seventh thing you should know before moving here is that it is very easy to walk around the city, especially the downtown area. Actually, the only part that's walkable is the downtown area. If you live super close to the downtown area, there are lots of stores and restaurants. My favorite coffee shop is Roswell Provisions. There's lots of areas that you can walk around the downtown area. I know this is something that many people are interested in, like they want to live in Metro Atlanta. They don't necessarily want to live in the city of Atlanta. They want to live in the suburbs, but they also want to be in a walkable area. In some places, this is difficult to find. But in Roswell, you can totally find this in and around the downtown area. But there are some downsides to living here, and if you're planning on moving to Roswell, you really want to consider the whole picture. You don't want just the good, you also want the bad. And so I've made an entire video outlining the pros and the cons of living in Roswell. You can check it out right here. I'll see you in the next one.